Hello everyone, you are on the Movie in Minutes channel, and this is Without Mercy, a pleasant viewing. This story begins in Aleppo, where a group of special forces in the US Navy is on a mission. According to CIA officer Robert Ritter, the purpose of the mission is to free his colleague with the call sign Randy, who is currently held hostage by the Syrian military. Receiving instructions, Sergeant John Kelly leads his group into battle, and soon frees the prisoner. After a successful completion of the mission, the hero decides to search the pockets of the enemy fighter, and surprisingly finds in them information that the deceased was a soldier of the Russian army. Receiving a command from Ritter to leave, John leads the fighters down the corridor, where he is suddenly under fire from the RPG from the Russian military, after which he goes into counterattack. Pretty soon, John finds out that they are in an armory, and in front of them are not at all Syrian mercenaries. With the battle, the detachment goes out into the street and gets on a helicopter, where John Kelly accuses Ritter of hiding information and the death of his fighters. The team leaves the dangerous sector, and the building itself is bombed. 3 months later, John rests with his wife, Pamela, at a party in Washington and shares plans for the future with his friends. A happy couple is expecting a child, so the man left the military business to spend more time with his family. And at this very time, 2 other members of his detachment, who participated in the Syrian operation, are killed by the unknown. Returning home in the evening, tired Pamela goes to bed, and John goes to the living room to have a snack and listen to music. A little while in the house, the light disappears, after which several well-armed people penetrate into it. John hears their footsteps, armed with a pistol, follows them. He manages to kill 2 and shoot a third, but he also gets a serious wound. In the end, the wounded enemy manages to escape, and John crawls into the bedroom and sees that the criminals managed to kill his wife. The man loses consciousness and comes to his senses on the hospital bed. Next to the bed, Lieutenant Commander Greer, worried that the 3rd fighter from her special detachment had been attacked in the last 24 hours, was waiting for him. John asks her about the attackers and says that they clearly were not ordinary robbers. Then, he asks her to tell him the name of the person behind all this, but Karen does not know anything. After a while, John makes an amendment, and a minister named Clay invites Karen and Ritter's agent to discuss what happened. During the discussion of the materials in the investigation, it becomes known that all those who Kelly killed in his house were connected with the FSB, and it is quite likely that all 3 attacks on the special forces were committed by Russian fighters in retaliation for their operation in Aleppo. For reasons of national security, the head of the CIA has already closed this case in order to avoid further provocations. After the meeting, outraged Karen visits John in the hospital to inform him that the CIA will not investigate the murder of Pamela. Then, risking his career, the woman gives the dossier to the soldier who shot in his house and mentions the ex-employee of the FSB, Andrei Vasilyev, who helped the Russians enter the United States and who probably knows where the escaped survivor is hiding. Soon the hero returns to an empty house, where he mourns his wife and unborn daughter. Then, he decides whatever it takes to avenge the killers for the broken life and develops a plan. Drunk, John goes to Vasilyev's office, but the guards chase him away. Then, he decides to follow the agent's car, following him along the highway, and at some point he crashes into his car on the turn, blocking Vasilyev's exit. Without wasting time, John sets his car on fire and then gets into it. With the help of a gun, he manages to knock out the name of the person who killed his wife from Vasilyev, after which the soldier leaves the burning car and surrenders to the police. The next morning, Karen visits John in prison and tells him about the dissatisfaction of his boss with his actions, to which the man replies that now they will play by his rules. The hero asks to pass a message to Minister Clay that he knows something about the attackers, and if he is pulled out of prison, he will be happy to share this information. Later, sitting in a cell, John hears some noise and is alarmed, because in this prison, others can easily get him. Suddenly, an officer appears who wants to take him for a walk, but the hero refuses, and then 3 armed guards break into his cell. The brave soldier manages to cope with everyone and make the attackers leave him. After a short period of time, a policeman comes for him, and on Karen's order, takes him from prison. Accompanied by the cortege, John arrives at a secret meeting with Minister Clay, the head of the CIA, Sarah Dillard, and Agent Ritter.
They all want to hear what exactly is known to John, and then the hero calls him Viktor Rykov. It was he who was the shooter who killed Pamela. Dillard says that Rykov is dead, and yet John recognizes him in one of the photos. To this, Ritter replies that Rykov's identity is classified. According to their data, he is somehow connected with the intelligence of the FSB and has a network of infiltrated agents in the United States. If he is still alive, he should be found and arrested. Hearing this, John asks for a team and, with the approval of the minister, receives permission with one condition. When the mission is completed, he will return to prison as a criminal. At the moment, Rykov is hiding in Russia, so Karen, John, and several soldiers follow him under the guise of civilians on a passenger plane so as not to attract unnecessary attention. Agent Ritter refuses to fly with them, preferring to meet with the detachment already at a secret base in Murmansk. When the team flew over the Barents Sea, their plane suddenly intercepted a Russian fighter with their request to immediately head to the airport in Murmansk. The pilot refuses, after which his plane crashes and he falls into the water. John, despite Karen's protests, dives for equipment and miraculously gets the boat, barely drowning. Under cover of night, the detachment reaches a secret shelter in Murmansk and discusses the situation. John begins to suspect Ritter of sabotaging the mission, thinking that their plane was shot down by accident. He recalls how Ritter had previously refused to start an investigation of shooting in his house and said that Rykov was dead. Besides, he was the only one from the team who flew separately. With these thoughts, the soldier breaks into a secret room where Ritter discusses something with two Russians and asks him for answers to his questions. The agent says that he flew to complete the mission to capture Rykov because he thought that the whole team was killed in the plane crash. He hired these people to show him the criminal's shelter. Angry John still restrains his emotions and soon, together with the detachment, heads to Rykov's apartment. Having penetrated inside, the soldier suddenly notices that two of Rykov's bodyguards are dead, and Rykov himself, hanged by explosives, sits in the chair waiting for him. The man scares John with his confession that in fact he is an employee of the CIA and assures him that it was not he who planned the murder of his family. Then Rykov says that they are both pawns, servants of one king, after which he tears himself. An invisible sniper suddenly begins to shoot the team and injures one of the members of the Dallas squad. With difficulty, the comrades manage to determine his location and eliminate him. However, in the corridor, another one begins to shoot at them. Karen manages to get to him and eliminate him, after which the team goes down to the lobby. By this time, the police, together with the soldiers, have already surrounded the building. John tells Karen that everything that happened to them is someone's planned operation, and apparently someone is trying to start a war between the countries. The hero orders the squad to run, but he himself rises to the roof and begins to shoot the police, distracting their attention to himself, which allows the other members of the team to leave the building unnoticed. Shooting back, John returns to the building and goes down the lobby, fighting off Russian soldiers along the way. There he manages to distract the enemies with an explosion and change into someone else's uniform, after which the soldier also leaves the building and joins his team at the pier. Soon the boat leaves the territory of Russia, and our hero asks Ritter about Viktor Rykov. He turned out to be a simple pawn in someone else's game, and it will be difficult for the main conspirators to get there. Ritter advises John to take the money hidden under the deck and disappear. Perhaps then, if John becomes a ghost, he will be able to find out who is behind it. The soldier thanks the agent and apologizes to him for suspecting him earlier. After a while, John watched over Minister Clay in the toilet, and he was extremely surprised by his appearance. John declares that he wants to pass on important information and tells the minister that a recent operation was controlled by the CIA from Washington, the purpose of which was to ignite a conflict with Russia. Seeing that Clay was not surprised, John kidnaps him. Later, Clay comes to his senses in the car, and John, threatening his family, makes the minister confess why his family had to suffer. Clay explains that the conflict with Russia was needed to help the economy and unite the divided American people in the fight against the common enemy. The team of John's special forces was only needed to keep an eye out so that no one could suspect the government. In anger with words, the soldier directs the car to the side and falls from the bridge into the water. Clay drowns, and John is saved by Karen. After this event, John is considered dead. Later, Karen sees John off at the station and gives him a new passport, and Ritter gives Clay's confession to his superiors. In the scene after the credits, John returns to Washington a year later and meets Ritter, who tells him about his decision to create and head an international team to fight terrorism, so that what happened would never happen again. And here you will find even more stories. Subscribe, because it's interesting. See you soon.